Disclaimer. This conversation is a fictional dramatization created for illustrative purposes and is not intended to serve as medical advice. If you or someone you know is experiencing symptoms of a mental health condition or any other concern, please consult a licensed healthcare professional or mental health specialist. Always seek the advice of qualified medical professionals for diagnosis and treatment options. The nursery was a masterpiece of pastel blues and soft whites, carefully curated by Rachel and her husband over months of preparation. A mobile of tiny stars hung above the crib, spinning gently in the breeze from the open window. Rachel stood in the doorway, her hands resting on her round belly, a smile playing on her lips. She could already picture it. Late nights rocking her baby to sleep, sweet giggles filling the house, and the warmth of tiny fingers wrapped around hers. It would be perfect. She'd read all the books, attended the classes, and memorized every tip from experienced moms. Motherhood would be challenging, she knew, but she was ready. Ethan, she whispered to herself, testing the name aloud. My little Ethan. Her husband walked up behind her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. You're going to be amazing, Rachel. I can already tell. She leaned into him, her heart swelling with love and anticipation. Everything felt like it was falling into place. The weeks leading up to Ethan's birth were a whirlwind of excitement. Baby showers, nursery shopping, and endless conversations about their future as a family filled Rachel's days. Everyone told her how lucky she was, how much she'd love this new chapter of her life. You're glowing, Rachel. Motherhood is going to look so good on you, said Jess. Rachel laughed, brushing off the compliment but secretly feeling a sense of pride. She was glowing, wasn't she? This was everything she had ever wanted. When the day finally came, the labor was long and grueling, but the moment Ethan was placed in her arms, Rachel thought her heart might burst from joy. She gazed into his tiny, perfect face, and all the pain melted away. Hi, baby. I'm your mom. She felt invincible, like nothing could ever dim this newfound light in her life. But as the days turned into weeks, the light began to flicker. The sleepless nights felt longer, the cries more piercing, and the weight of being a new mother grew heavier. The vision of perfection she had clung to began to crumble, replaced by a reality she hadn't prepared for. Rachel sat in her living room, staring blankly at her newborn son, Ethan, who lay in a bassinet nearby. The room was dim despite it being mid-afternoon. The blinds were drawn, shutting out the sunlight. She looked exhausted, her hair unkempt and her clothes loose and wrinkled. She sighed softly, her voice barely a whisper as she spoke to herself. Why does this feel so hard? I should be happy. I should be enjoying this. But I just feel so empty. Ethan's sudden cry broke the silence. Rachel stiffened, her face paling as she leaned over to pick him up. Her hands trembled as she tried to comfort him, but her efforts seemed futile. Frustration crept into her voice. Shoo, it's okay, baby. I'm here. I don't know why I can't do this. Why can't I just get it right? Tears welled in her eyes as she continued to rock Ethan, his cries persisting. Overwhelmed by exhaustion and the weight of her emotions, Rachel felt like she was failing. She didn't know who to turn to. Later that afternoon, the doorbell rang. Rachel stood up slowly, trying to compose herself before opening the door. Her in-laws, Carol and Doug, stood there with wide smiles, holding gifts for the baby. Carol's smile faltered as she noticed Rachel's tired eyes and disheveled appearance. Oh, Rachel, Carol said cheerfully, though her tone carried a subtle undertone of judgment. You look so tired. I know it's tough, but you should really be more presentable for Ethan. Babies need a calm and happy mom, you know. Rachel forced a smile, her shame mounting as she let them in. Hi, Mom. Thanks for coming by. I'm just a little tired. You know, it's been a long few days. As they entered the living room, Carol glanced around at the cluttered space, her frown deepening. You really should be keeping things more organized around here, she said, her concern tinged with criticism. It's not good for the baby to be in such a mess. A tidy home helps the baby feel secure. Rachel's chest tightened as she felt herself shrinking under Carol's gaze. The exhaustion that weighed on her shoulders seemed to double under the weight of judgment. She tried to sound upbeat. "I'll clean up, I promise. Just been a little hard to keep up with everything." Doug, noticing the tension but offering little comfort, added, "Well, you knew it was going to be hard. You can't just let things slide, Rachel. You have to take care of yourself too. And Ethan needs you to be strong." Rachel's face fell slightly, but she nodded, holding back tears. She felt like she was failing at every turn. Failing as a mother, failing as a wife. That evening, after Carol and Doug had left, Rachel sat on the couch, Ethan asleep in her arms. The weight of their comments lingered heavily. She rocked gently, feeling detached, as though she were watching herself from a distance. The clock on the wall read nearly 10 p.m., but she felt like the day had passed without her accomplishing anything. "Why is this so hard?" she thought to herself. "Why can't I be like other moms? I should be enjoying this time, but I feel so lost. I can't even keep the house in order. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this." Her phone buzzed, breaking her thoughts. She glanced at the screen and saw a message from Carol. "I really think you should get out of the house more, Rachel. I understand you're tired, but you can't keep staying inside all the time. Ethan will do better if you do some activities outside. Maybe a walk in the park." Rachel stared at the message, her throat tightening. She felt judged for everything, even things she had no control over. She sighed deeply. "She doesn't understand," Rachel whispered to herself. "I can't even leave the house. I can't even take care of myself. How am I supposed to take care of Ethan?" The next day, Rachel's longtime friend Jess came over to visit. As soon as Jess saw Rachel, she noticed the distant, drained look in her eyes. She sat down beside her on the couch. "Hey Rachel," Jess said gently. "You okay? You don't look so good. I've been trying to reach you. I'm worried." "Oh, I'm fine," Rachel said, forcing a smile. "Just, it's been a lot. Ethan's been fussy, and I'm just exhausted." Jess studied her friend with concern. "Rachel, it's okay to not be fine. You don't have to hide it. You've just had a baby, and it's a huge life change. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed. But you also need to take care of yourself. Have you thought about talking to a doctor?" Rachel hesitated, looking down at Ethan, who was quietly sleeping in her arms. She felt embarrassed. "I don't know. I don't want to seem like I'm not coping. I don't want people to think I can't handle it. I feel like everyone's expecting me to be this perfect mom. I don't even feel like myself anymore." "Rachel, this isn't about being perfect," Jess said gently. "Postpartum depression is real. It doesn't make you any less of a mom. In fact, taking care of yourself means you can take better care of Ethan. You need to get some help before it gets harder." Rachel looked at her friend, and the tears she had been holding back finally spilled over. "I just feel so alone, like I'm failing. And my in-laws, they don't make it any easier. Every time they visit, it's like I'm doing everything wrong. I just want to be a good mom, but I don't know how." Jess took Rachel's hand, her voice firm but kind. "Rachel, you're doing the best you can. And asking for help isn't failing. It's taking control of your health so you can be the mom Ethan needs. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. You're more than enough, just as you are." Days later, Rachel nervously picked up her phone and called her doctor's office. The receptionist answered cheerfully. "Good morning, Dr. Harris's office. How can I help you?" Rachel's voice was shaky as she replied, "Hi, I'm Rachel Miller. I recently had a baby, and I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I think I might be dealing with postpartum depression. I don't know if I can handle it anymore. Can I speak to someone?" "Of course, Rachel," the receptionist said warmly. "You're doing the right thing by reaching out. Let me schedule you for an appointment with Dr. Harris. We'll make sure you get the support you need." Rachel took a deep breath, feeling a small weight lift off her shoulders. Taking the first step toward healing was hard, but it was necessary. She was starting to understand that asking for help didn't mean she was failing. It meant she was fighting for herself and for Ethan. And that was the greatest act of strength she could show. Rachel's story illustrates the challenges of postpartum depression, made even more difficult by the stigma and judgment she faces from her in-laws. The constant pressure to be a perfect mother, along with the emotional weight of caring for a newborn, made Rachel feel isolated and inadequate. However, with the support of her friend Jess and the courage to seek professional help, Rachel begins to understand that postpartum depression is a medical condition, not a personal failure. Taking the first step to reach out for help is crucial in her path to recovery, and she learns that asking for support is a sign of strength, not weakness.